How y'all doing today? As he was telling y'all, my name's Trevor. I'm going to tell y'all a little bit about my life, about how I pushed God away, and just kind of lost my relationship with God there for a little bit. I guess we'll start from the beginning. I grew up in this church. I was always a member ever since I can remember. My mom is a very loving mom. My dad is a very loving dad. They did the best they could at teaching me the right things to do in life. My wife, Mika, is sitting in the back of the room. We have 3 beautiful children. We have 2 boys and 1 girl. And hopefully our family is not growing. And I'm 24 years old, by the way, with 3 kids. So, I wanted to start off with how my life was affected by drugs and by alcohol and these things that Clay was talking to y'all about. About my sophomore year in high school, I began to party. Someone that I looked up very much to was my older brother. I wanted to do everything that he did, and he called me and asked me if I wanted to go to my first party, and I said, yeah, cool. And got to go with him and drank a lot of alcohol, and was almost engulfed by it immediately. Began to party a lot in high school, began to separate myself with people that partied a lot, and it began to affect my life as a Christian. It began to affect my family, my sports, just everything that was around me. Very good athlete, played basketball, baseball, could have ran track. If I didn't have a broken neck, probably would have been an awesome football player. One of those guys that was a popular guy in school, and whatever I did, people were going to either follow, or I was going to have plenty of people that would do that with me. And as I associated myself with these parties, I associated myself with things that come with these parties, such as drugs, the main one. And I began to smoke marijuana when I was a junior in high school, and I'd probably get high 3 or 4 times a week. And I did that for about 3 months until one of the guys that I would skip school with a lot, he invited me over to his parents' apartment, and as we're just sitting there hanging out, I seen him pull a baggie out of his pocket, and it was full of ecstasy. And I knew I didn't want to do it, and it was easy for me to say no. But I decided I wasn't going to do it. Week went by, we're back over there at that same apartment, and he pulls out another baggie, and it's cocaine. And I began to look at myself and say, wow, is this what this has come down to? Is this what I'm going to do with my life? And I was able to walk away from that moment and say that these guys aren't right for me. They're not a good example for me. I'm a Christian man, and there's a better future for me. And I stepped away from drugs. But I didn't step away from alcohol. I continued to associate with myself with drinkers, with partiers, and it took a toll on my life. All the school that I missed, I ended up dropping out of high school in my junior year. And me and my wife, we started our life, our family at a very young age. She was 17, and I was 20 when we had our first kid. We didn't know what to do. It was going to be very tough, very, very tough. And I continued to just neglect what was in front of me. I continued to party, even though I had kids in my house. I continued to go out and drink on the weekends, call my mom and see if she'd watch my kids. So me and my wife could go out and drink and do these things that just aren't very Christian-like. And I got so engulfed in it so much that I began to be an angry drunk. I used to fight a lot, and that started to grab a hold of my life. I enjoyed that adrenaline rush. I enjoyed that moment, and it was hard to step away because I was so good at it. So I was just like, man, this is just so much fun, you know. And I let it grab a hold of my life, and I let it run my life. Well, one night, you know, we had 3 kids. All 3 of our kids, our family was complete, and my 3 kids are sleeping in their bedroom. We're just having this massive party. I mean, just people. My kitchen, my living room, porch is packed. I think we broke the porch that night. I mean, it was just massive amounts of people.
We had 2 kids.
And I'm outside, and I'm partying, and a guy walks out in my front yard with his shirt off, yelling and cussing. And me and him, we got into it pretty bad. What had happened was he. My wife told him and his friends that he needed to leave, and he didn't think that was very kind. And he ensued to take his shirt off and cuss my wife out in the middle of my living room. And so I woke up the next morning, and I thought to myself, you know, who are these people that come over to my house and disrespect my house? And I began to realize, you know, who am I? Who am I to have had these people over to my house? Who am I to be throwing these parties while I have 3 children sleeping in their room? You know, if I would have never thrown this party, I would have never gotten in a fight. My wife would have never got cussed out in the middle of our living room floor. You know, and I started to realize that it's not their fault, it's mine. You know, I've pushed God out of my life. I've told him that this is who I'm going to be, and I have myself to blame for that. And I pretty much had a heart to heart with myself, like, this has got to stop. And I rolled over and I looked at my wife in bed, and I told her, I said, I'm done. I'm done partying. And she laughed. She laughed at me. She said, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. And about a week later, I was on a job site. I work in the oil field. I worked on pipeline right-of-ways. About a week later, I had this guy that I'd always known was a Christian man. I always knew he was a part of his youth group at his church, and just a great guy to look up to if you needed someone to look up to. And he had so much wisdom. And I would talk to him about how my life was going, how I was trying to transition into that relationship with God again, and how it was just affecting me. I could feel the devil working on me even harder. I could feel, you know, when you're drinking and you're partying, you're exactly where the devil wants you. The second you realize that you're doing something wrong, he's going to come at you even harder. I mean, he is really going to pound you. And I could tell he was doing that. And I've been working for this guy for about a week. And I showed up there on a Friday morning, and I was in a rage. I mean, I could not say anything without just losing my temper. Nothing could go right that day, that morning. And I remember I had my headphones in my head while I was working, and I was listening to the Bible on my phone, and I couldn't even tell you what chapter I was in, what book of the Bible I was in, nothing. I just was, I mean, that dead set on losing my temper and everything. I couldn't even tell you what I was listening to. And I began to realize that the devil was in my head. Like he had brought himself into my life, and he wasn't going to leave until I did something about it. So I sat down and I began to pray, and just asked the Lord to help me out and put the full armor of God on me and just keep me away from what's going on. And that my pipeline inspector shows up, and I'll never forget his face. He was like, "What are y'all doing here?" I was like, "Well, we're supposed to be here, aren't we?" He's like, "No, y'all went on my board." And we began to talk and stuff, and we began to realize that all this stuff was works of God. He brought me to that job site that morning, even though we weren't supposed to show up. Maybe somebody forgot to tell us, or whatever it may be. God made that possible for one reason, so that D-List, my pipeline inspector, could read me his testimony. And he read me his testimony, and I tell you, man, that is one one of the toughest things I've ever heard in my life. His testimony spoke of abuse, sexual and physical, at a young age. From the time that he was 3 till the time that he was 11, 12 years old from his stepdad. Drugs, alcohol. And I just started thinking, like, wow, this is so powerful. And I almost dropped to my knees. Like right there in the middle of the oil field right away. I almost dropped to my knees because I was hurting so bad inside. I could feel God. I could just feel him squeezing me and just telling me, I'm just a man. Like all this stuff, I can just push it all away, just ask him to. And so Delis led me through a sin of prayer and led me to rededication of my life that day on the oil field right away. And just helped me realize that these things in my life that are causing me to build relationships with people that don't matter, friends in high school, girlfriends in high school, even in college, all of y'all have a bright future. No matter who you are in this room, you have a bright future. And whether it be in high school and college, you're going to experience these things. You're going to experience peer pressure. You've experienced peer pressure since you've been here at this church. It's part of our lives. It's part of our the way we live every single day. And there's nothing you can do to stay away from it. I promise you. You can separate yourself to it to an extent, but it's always going to be there. It's always going to be in the back of your mind. But I wanted to talk to y'all about this because that's how it all started for me, was peer pressure. And then it only takes one time, like Brother Clay said. It takes one time. That one time to drink that beer, or that one time to smoke marijuana, or whatever the drug may be. It only takes one time for you to throw your life away, to throw your family away, people that your parents that have raised you. My grandma was a huge influence on my life. Huge influence on my life. She loved everything that God had ever created. And she, the last 30 years of her life, she had Alzheimer's. And she didn't know who we were. She went from like a level 2 to a level 10 at snap of her fingers. She didn't know who we were. She didn't know her own son's names. And she was someone that I looked up to so much that I really would have loved for her to know that I turned my life around. But she passed away. And she never knew that. She knows now, and that means a lot to me. But I really just wanted to be able to have one conversation with her and tell her that I did it, that I was able to turn my life around. I was able to quit partying as much and quit doing drugs and all these things that hurt my family so much. I guess I'll open up to questions. If y'all have any questions, that's all I got. Just stay strong, believe, have faith in your belief. Have faith in God that He'll help you. That's something I never realized. I never got it until about a year ago that God is there for you. He's not just somebody that was made up to give us hope. He is there. He believes in you. And you have to believe in Him. You have to have faith in Him that He will help you succeed. Because He's done it for me. I was down in the roadworks and down in the ditches, and now I have a beautiful family, a good job, something that I've had to work very hard for because I am a high school dropout. But just all these things can run your life in a heartbeat, and you have to pray and you have to do stewards of Christ to get you through these things, because nobody else can. Thank y'all for y'all's time. If y'all have any questions, or if y'all want to speak to me, speak to me one-on-one with me after class or anything. Anybody have any questions? I know it's kind of a lot of I, and him, or she. So that just shows you how selfish I was. But I appreciate y'all's time. And back over to Clay.